Hi, thanks for the opportunity to share my work with you all today. My name is Christopher Swift. I'm an assistant professor of art and design at Binghamton University and a graphic designer. The work I'll be discussing today is part of my larger research project exploring the role of the graphic designer in the creative process. I contend that the designer is part of a large network of actors and collaborators, both human and non-human, that is mostly ignored in the celebration of the genius that is us, the designers. As a graphic designer, I want to acknowledge the significance of the overlooked, the materials, the process, and the extent of my role in the creation of something of value. This Camera Obscura project exemplifies this. It is a collection and collaboration of objects that play a role in the network of ideas and things. My role in the process is that of observer. The light streams and the photons bend and bounce, creating images regardless of my presence. The materials such as cardboard, enamel, paint, and walls all play a role in this network, creating something that I can only document a part of. While teaching a number of years ago, I listened to a conversation between two students where one proclaimed that they had made a book. It was just a small snippet of the conversation, but it made me think about what that statement meant in terms of graphic design. Did they write the text, design the typefaces, make the inks, the paper, bind the book? What does it mean in the context of graphic design to say something like, I made a book? I'd argue that they connected or activated nodes in a vast network of objects, ideas, technologies, peoples, materials, etc. And this is fundamentally what I believe we do. We work along a vast array of collaborators, human and non-human. We just tend to downplay the value of that teamwork. We obscure the inputs of others, especially the non-human actors, and we claim that value as our own. These are a series of projects created to explore and expose the often obscured parts of the network, to attempt to make the agency of the tools more pronounced, to lessen my control over the process, and to trust in the network of collaborators. Through repurposing programs like InDesign and experimenting with different coding languages, I aimed to collaborate in the making of something new and unique. I focused on surrealist collage techniques, with all of their inherent interest in chance, creating images with code based in this randomness. This resulted in the creation of new tools and image-making methods that were exciting and unexpected. And although I was pleased with the outputs of these new techniques and tools I developed, I was still exerting more control over the system than I was looking for. Most of this thinking has its roots in the writing of Bruno Latour and, more recently, James Bridle. Latour's actor network theory is a primary foundation for these ideas, and Bridle's recent writings on the more than human world is a fantastic exploration of these connections. John Cage, in works like the 1967 Harpsichord Project, investigated ideas in music and performance like this, 50 years ago, more than 50 years ago. In this generative zine project is an attempt to share creative control for the projects I work on with the collaboration of by design tools. To make the generative zines, I built and assembled the various parts, tools, ideas, data sets, set some parameters, and gave it a nudge forward. I produced 3 versions of the program, all coded in processing. The space for novelty is opened up and made possible as my expectations for what the outcome should be, what the page should look like, are erased, overridden, or at least dimmed a little, as my control over the other actors in this production became looser, and my trust that we were making something of worth in this weird collaboration was slowly but importantly strengthened. The tools of graphic design, often designed with simple user interfaces, obscure the complexity and scale of the networks of actors involved. We interact with tools that are black boxes of code and claim an expertise or mastery of them, but the fullness of the relationship between those tools that we claim control over is almost always one of collaboration. We must work within the limits and interests of the network of actors and collaborators. We, the designers, are in fact one among many actors in this network. We are not some singular creative force, some Randian hero full of genius. We are part of a complex whole. These projects are about the strange explorations of the latent space of machine learning. What can we find when we explore the sort of hidden and near infinite space that these networks allow us access to? These projects imagine a sort of exploration of possibilities never realized, a look at the objects we might find, a speculative anthropology of alternative histories and futures that we might explore and learn from. These projects differ from the smaller localized programs I was previously working with. This network was tied into numerous large and unknowable black boxes. The text-to-image model, currently I'm using a local installation of Stable Diffusion, is massive and complex. I know how some of it works, I can affect it, but my input is no longer the performative utterance of my simpler programs. The words I write now are much closer to something like an essay or some type of creative project. They suggest rather than declare. They are shared and interpreted by a second party. In this case, the interpretation and translation feels closer to communicating with something very alien. These projects have been chosen to consider the collaborators that we believe to be our tools, questioning their relationship and the need to control and master our partners, considering an alternative to our current thinking and exploring the results of moving away from a need of control and moving towards a place of care and trust. A decentered graphic designer who is part of a network of making made up of collaborators, human and non-human, that wants to see where we might go if we let go and trust that if we show care for our team, we will end up somewhere great.